Found the picture frame. So today I am in the UAE, and this is in part because of Megan Miller. She's a patron of this channel. So if you haven't already, make sure you check her out, link down below. Here we go. All right, day one Dubai. Got our behavior nerd.
Hey.
Help make this trip happen. So, first of all, reflection so far. There's an obscene amount of construction here.
Yep.
Almost said instruction.
Every time we come, there's construction.
It's unbelievable.
Like these buildings are new.
How much is being put up everywhere. Everywhere. The skylines are unreal. Today on the list is visiting at least probably two different centers. So we're going to do that. We started with a good morning workout.
Yes.
Feeling strong. So far, no jet lag. Check in soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
Holy cow. Alright, probably the biggest thing that I get on this channel when I'm traveling is what are the perspectives of behavior analysts that are in that area. So today we're going to be joined by Nipa and talk just about that. Alright, coffee check, first center, heading in, shell report. ABTI. So I was telling everyone today we're visiting two different centers. One of them is your ABTI, is that correct? Yes. So can you first of all tell us like who you are and how you found behavior analysis real quick?
Yeah. My name is Nipa Bhuptani. I am a BCBA and I've been in UAE for the last 27 years. When I first came here, I used to work as a kindergarten teacher. Okay. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of awareness, so there was a lot of children trickling into my classroom with additional needs, which I didn't know anything about. Over time, I got really interested in a particular child with autism was in my classroom, and I started asking, and it just so happened that there was an ABA workshop happening in Dubai. This was just, I'd say, about 14 years ago. And I attended that, and that's when I discovered ABA, and I thought I should try that.
Okay, that's awesome. So we were talking before we started all this, and you mentioned that it's like 85% of the folks here are residents, but they're not nationals. Is that right? Like they don't have, yeah.
Expatriates.
Okay.
They come, so they're foreign workers. They come from all over the world to come work and earn here.
Yeah, which set up some interesting things. So if I get this right, you found behavior analysis, and you're like, okay, how can we start helping, right? Which as a business, a lot of people in the States will start up something that's a nonprofit, for example. But you said that landscape is totally different here. Can you share a little bit about that?
So as a country, UAE does not really encourage or allow not-for-profits. There is possibility to do it, but it is it has a lot of steps to it, and it's not sustainable at all. So at that point, I saw the need. There was a huge need for support for families who had children with autism. They were very isolated because they didn't have extended families and social connections here. And autism made them even more isolated. So I was looking to do something with those families to be able to support them. And so I founded the Autism Support Network in Abu Dhabi. It was just me and a couple of moms and dads and my dining table. We decided we needed to do something, and we got together and chalked out a few things that we could do to support families. Yeah. It was just social networking and support. We weren't actually working with children at that point. We didn't have the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah.
This basically meant that there was no resources at all other than what came out of our pockets or our homes. Yeah. And we just reached out to the community. Legally, community was happy to help, but we were not allowed any funding. So we just had to go look for spaces and people, speakers and events which would just do
Yeah.
this for us for free,
Yeah.
and reach out to more families. And it worked because we now have over 400 families who follow us on
Mhm.
Facebook and on social media and attend our events.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So that was one wing, but then the other one was ABTI, right? So what's ABTI do?
So, funnily enough, I was a teacher, then I became a behavior analyst, and then I started the Autism Support Network. And then, while I was doing all of that, I was still working with children directly one-on-one on my own. I didn't really have a team that I was working with, but then I could see that I could only do so much. So I was looking to grow that larger, build more capacity. And that is when ABTI took birth. And so in ABTI, what we do is we provide ABA-based trainings to educators and parents or anybody else who wants to work with children with additional needs. And we also provide early intervention to children that are in regular nurseries in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And we implement the competent learner model to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this summer when we were doing one of the live streams for Convergence, Vicky and I were on, and then I think that's where you and I started chatting a lot more. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah. So can you just give a quick highlight of competent learner model for us?
Sure.
Yeah.
So again, I discovered competent learner model when I was in California in 2008, and I was there actually to do my fieldwork hours. And that time there were no behavior analysts in UAE. I was looking for something that when I came back here I could implement, which would build local capacity. There were no behavior analysts here, and looking at all the various models, it was all very heavily behavior analyst based, like it needed lots of skilled behavior analysts to implement anything, and we didn't have any here, so that was not going to be sustainable for me. And that was when I met Vicky and saw the competent learner model. And the difference that I see in the competent learner model is that it's a multi-component model. It has tools for the learner, of course, assessment and curriculum and all of that, but it also has training tools for the implementers, for instructors, and they don't have to be behavior analysts because we're building their skills from scratch. Right? So we could pick anybody, train them, and get them to be able to implement. And then there's tiers to it. So there's instructors and then coaches and coaches in training, and a BCBA is a part of that team, is not the only person in that team, or is not the king of that team, right? It's kind of a very collaborative approach. And I thought that would be very good for us to have here, because that helped me build capacity, that helped me build teams. I didn't have to design everything from scratch. And there was a tried and tested model, and that's why I thought it would work really well for us, and which it did. And we have now a team of, right now the ABTI team is over 22 people.
Okay.
And before that, wherever I have worked with CLM, I have trained other people. So in the UAE, I would say there's at least 50 people now trained in the competent learning model.
That's awesome. That's a win.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's different in that it's not an off-the-shelf sort of solution. This is something that you get pretty extensive training and implement.
Yes, it's an implementing tool. So it has 4 phases of implementation, starting from 0 to reaching accreditation. The instructor training takes us about 18 months. It's self-paced, but it takes about 18 months for a person to be trained. And it's not, the best part of it is that you have to be able to do what you say you have learned. Yeah. It is all practical, it's all hands-on. And it's all coaching training. It is not just lectures. So, the trainee always gets to see how it's done. There's a model lead test there. So they see the model, the coach then leads them into it, and then they have to do it. And it can happen over and over again until we get it right.
Which that shifts pretty nicely into, I was going to ask you, what are some of the concerns you may have for like ABA, specifically in the UAE? I remember there's obviously, sounds like waves and kind of pressures for any certificate or anybody that's getting certain amounts of training can kind of misguide parents sometimes, right?
Yeah. So I think UAE is a young country, and because it has affluence in the sense that everybody here who is here, all the expatriates, if you're talking about 85% of the population that's here, with families, the ones that are here with families have to have a certain level of income. So people are, I would say all families are educated families, so more aware, more people here. So they are seeking services faster than a whole group of population would in any other country, because there would be a mix over there, but here it's kind of just the educated people. And so we are getting more need for services. The need for services is growing exponentially anywhere around the world, but this, I think, adds to it. And against that, to meet the need, we don't have enough certified people. Parents are becoming really aware, and so they're looking for ABA, but they don't understand the levels of certification. So there's a lot of misunderstanding and miscommunication about who is certified at what level and what their roles should be. So and there isn't any licensing procedure in the country. So it's only going by board licensing, board certification, I mean. And so that's causing a lot of sometimes a bad representation of the ABA services. And sometimes just miscommunicated information, right? I think there's a big need for better information dissemination of the levels of certification and what they mean. There needs to be local licensing or local procedures that need to come in place much faster than they are right now, to just establish boundaries for these services, right? To guide, those guiding policies are not there.
To better practice.
To better practice. And one of the bigger difficulties that I think is unique to this part of the world is that the 85% expatriate population that I'm talking about is not entitled to any services from health or education. So all parents have to pay out of pocket. Which is a huge amount of money. And at the same time, from the practitioner's perspective, I think that puts a huge amount of pressure to produce positive results all the time, because it then is run as a business, and you really don't want your clients walking away from you without success. So I think that is an added facet of pressure, which I don't see other behavioral analysts going through in other countries.
I would agree.
So that is something that is unique here.
All right, so let's end with what are you excited about with ABA and UAE? Like what's exciting that's coming up or going on?
So right now, what is most exciting for the UAE is that inclusion is going in a big way. Like the government is now looking at making more inclusive opportunities for individuals across the whole country, and especially in education. So that is a good thing. I think that will happen for the populations that we work with, and for ABA to be in schools, because I do believe that ABA should be in schools and not outside the natural environment where the children should be. So that is very exciting. The second thing, the growth of the field within UAE has been great. I mean, in 2008, I was one behavior analyst in the country, and now we have a couple, like a few hundred. So that is huge. That is huge. It's growing in spikes, I think, and in I don't know what the word is, but segregated verticals. Like it's not overarching. I want to see behavior analysis in schools, in universities, in clinics, in hospitals, but also in other aspects of life, like in business and in other, in environment and everywhere. And of course, all behavior analysts, we want to see that, but I think it's going to take a little bit of more time over here. But we will get there. From the company's perspective, I'm really excited to see the growth and the interest in what we're doing. Like there's more and more people asking us, well, what is this that you do and how do you make an impact? And so that I think is really good that we are generating that interest. We're creating a lot more people who are a little bit more aware about ABA. through our courses. So we just do an introduction to ABA for educators and parents, just for them to not shy away from ABA and not be afraid of ABA, because that is happening a lot. So just to let them see that ABA is happening across your day every day, and you can just make life better with it. Right.
And then there's one other thing you shared about the UN. UN, there's some. Yeah.
Yes. So as I was running the Autism Support Network for a couple of years, one February I got a message from the United Nations asking me to come and speak at the World Autism Awareness Day. And we're talking about the status of autism and services in the Middle East. It was exciting. It was a nice event. There was people from different countries representing and talking about it. It's good.
That's awesome. I think it goes to show you can do a lot with very little if you start chasing your passion, like you have, right?
Yes.
And I was going to say,
and I think if you keep doing, doors open up.
Yeah.
If you won't always remain with very little. You begin with very little, and then doors open up. Right?
And I love that. It's a great place to end. And all this was brought, maybe some parts by Megan. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for holding that camera.
This thing is so heavy.
It is. That's actually where we're going to end day number 1. So if you're interested, this is where you would subscribe. This is something that's most recent of my videos. And then right here, that's where YouTube's suggesting that this is something we're probably really into. Thanks again to Megan Miller. Big shout out. You're the real deal. Thank you for the help.